America's failing, and this proves it.
This hunk of shit.
A warning to Ford owners.
Is it because I didn't make my payment on my Ford Bronco? Ford shut down my car?
Watch what happens to the bed.
Millions of Americans are regretting buying the new Ford truck. It's over, and nobody is buying them. Before we get started, hit that subscribe button and like the video. Let's hit 1K subscribers.
Big news from Ford, they're recalling over 1.4 million trucks. So if you drive a Ford truck or anyone you know, someone close to you, listen up and please send them this right away. This recall impacts primarily Ford F-150, Ford Super Duty, and other models equipped with Ford's 10-speed automatic transmission. So 2017 to 20 F-150s, 17 to 19 Ford Super Duties. Here's the issue, and it's certainly not minor. The transmission can unexpectedly downshift into a lower gear while you're driving at highway speeds. So what does that mean in real terms? You could experience sudden engine braking, loss of speed control, rear wheels can monetarily lock up, and maybe in worst case you might lose control of the vehicle. So symptoms that we should be watching for are harsh or delayed shifting, jerking when accelerating or slowing down, sudden RPM spikes, or the truck feels like it slams into gear. So now what's causing this? So this really comes down to a software and control system fault inside the transmission. Now specifically how the transmission control module interrupts signals and commands gear changes. So what's going to happen is essentially recall will be produced. Dealers will reprogram the transmission control module, update the software to correct shifting logic. In some cases, further inspection may be required if damage has already occurred. So please reach out to your Ford dealer. Reach out to us. We've got mobile service. We can help you with that. Let me know in the comments what you think.
Man, since when are trucks $100 and some thousand dollars? $104,000 MSRP for that thing. I got it for like 12 grand off because dealerships are desperate to sell shit right now. But $100,000 for a truck. That is absolutely insane. And I'm going to get rid of this truck. I'm done with it. I don't want new trucks anymore. I'm going to buy used stuff. It's already lost its value. There's no benefit to this. No benefit whatsoever. And by buying these things, all you're doing is feeding into the bullshit that these car manufacturers, these car dealerships are trying to pull to just take money out of your pocket, drive you further in debt, and absolutely cripple you as a person financially. Like nobody can buy nor should they, even if they can, buy $100,000 truck. And I absolutely regret it. And I'm getting rid of it. I'm done with it. It's stupid. It's absolutely stupid.
Ford is in the middle of a quality crisis. Ford is losing the trust of their consumers. So if someone's paying $81,000 for a truck, they're going to expect it to be of the highest quality possible when they're shelling out that kind of money for this kind of truck. So these quality issues that Ford is having is destroying the trust of their dealers and, more importantly, their consumers. And when they start losing the trust of their consumers because of quality issues, it's not just a OEM problem. It's not just a Ford namesake problem. It's a problem for these dealerships as well. So I'm here at Ford today because quality over the last few years has been a major issue for Ford, so much so that it's actually hurting Ford's brand. So quality concerns for Ford, it's not a new thing. They've actually been dealing with this for years and years and years, and this is actually a problem that Ford itself knows that it needs to handle. In fact, one of the things that the current CEO, Jim Farley, talked about when he came on as the new CEO is that they had to get quality under control, and it seems like they're actually moving in the wrong direction. So recently there was a poll taken by a lot of dealers to recognize who was the least trusted franchise to actually have your dealership through. And you got to think that a lot of these franchise owners, even the one that I'm walking on right now, they have multiple franchises between different brands. This one itself I know has Toyota, they have Chevy, GMC, a Honda dealership. So many of these franchises, they go across multiple brands. So they actually have first firsthand experience working with all the different OEMs, and Ford was voted the least trusted of all of these brands. And there's going to be multiple reasons for this. One, Ford is pushing out a lot of EVs that these dealers can't sell. They don't like that. And a lot of these dealers recognize that they're not going to be able to sell these EVs, but they still have to do build outs for charging stations and just having the space to put these EVs on their lot when they know that they can't sell them. Two, these dealerships know that the price of these vehicles have to come down, and what's Ford said for the new coming, the 2024s, MSRPs are actually going to be higher this year than they were last year. And dealers don't like this because they're already having a hard time selling all these $70,000, $80,000 trucks now. They need more Mavericks, they need more entry-level vehicles to be able to sell to consumers, because right now the environment is not very good to actually sell a lot of these big expensive trucks. But the biggest reason why the trust from Ford has left these dealers is the quality. So what's happening is that when the quality suffers across these trucks, across these vehicles that these dealers have to sell, it's going to take consumers away.
Well, it looks like things just keep getting worse for Ford when I thought the worst was over with. And it's actually gotten so bad that, as of today, Ford cannot sell any of the F-150 trucks that are on this lot. And it's not just the F-150 that they can't sell right now. The Super Duty cannot be sold as well. And that's because there's a massive problem with these trucks that was just announced that Ford had to completely just shut down the sales of these trucks until that issue is fixed. And what that means is they had to issue a stop sale. After hitting a record number of recalls this year, Ford just issued another recall for their trucks. This is terrible news for dealers, as trucks are the bread and butter for Ford. If they can't sell trucks, then they're completely out of business. So in this video, I want to talk about this new recall that's affecting the F-150 and all of the Super Duty trucks. I want to talk about some of the least reliable brands that are out right now, and then also talk about some of the most reliable vehicles with the least amount of recalls. That way you know what vehicles to avoid and what vehicles are actually worth buying that will cost you the least headache. And I'm starting right here at Ford because of this recall that is a complete stop sale for the F-Series trucks. That includes all of these Super Duties you see behind me and any of the new 25 and 26 Ford F-150 trucks. Now, what is a stop sale? I don't know if I've ever explained what a stop sale is before, but here's like the basics. What that means when someone puts a stop sale on a vehicle as a company, that means, you know, any of these trucks sitting here in this row that are on the lot currently cannot be sold to customers, and they also can't be demoed, which means that can't be test driven, because if this failure happens during a test drive, obviously that looks really bad on Ford or any manufacturer. If a defect pops up while they're doing the test drive, obviously that's a big problem. And Ford's not the only one that had to do a stop sale this week. In one of my last videos, Corvette was actually put on a stop sale, and I even showed you that they had two Z06s in the back of that Chevy dealership that had a do not sell sticker in the window until the recalls are fixed. So basically, until the recalls are fixed, the dealers have to just sit on these and wait. So what is the big problem causing the F-150 and the Super Duties to not be able to be sold? So as you can see here on this article by TFL Truck, it says Ford recalls 355,000 F-Series trucks and issues a stop sale due to failing instrument panel display. So basically what happens is the display panel, after a series of certain on and off, back and forth kind of things, completely just stops working. And that's a huge problem. And it's one of the issues with new vehicles right now, like relying on a screen for everything and the whole screen just goes out really, really sucks. And that's the difference between like analog gauges. The biggest thing we had to worry about with analog gauges on your cluster was just a light bulb going out. But at least even if one of the light bulbs would go out, the rest of the analog instruments are there. There's still some lights in the background, and you'll still be able to see it even if one bulb goes out, and then you just replace the bulb and it's done. But with this screen issue, if the screen goes out, you can't do anything with the car. You can't change functions, you can't see warning lights, you can't see how fast you're going, and obviously if the screen goes out on any of these new trucks on the lot, you just need to stop. And right now, this article says it impacts all 2025 F-150s and 2025 and 26 F-250, 350, 450, and 550 models. And it says the instrument cluster screens can go blank on startup, making it impossible for the driver to get critical information like vehicle speed and warning lights in certain conditions. They don't go into specifics on what those conditions for the cluster going out are, and the recall also affects vehicles built last year in 2024. So if you've got an F-150 built in 2024, I would bring it into the dealer, because they did say that about 90-something people have brought those in and had to have this gauge cluster fixed. And there is a fix for it, and it's pretty simple. It's just a software update. They just got to plug it in, update the software in the gauge cluster, and they're good to go. But for a dealership, that's a lot of work. They're going to have to take every single one of these F-Series trucks, all of these, back into service and do that reprogramming for that gauge cluster. That's going to be a lot of work on their part, and so they can't sell any of these trucks until they make sure that gauge cluster is working and that update has been processed. Now, there's a sales guy driving away in that Expedition right there.
Let's start with what's happening out in the real world. People rely on these trucks to haul equipment, drive to jobs, and run their daily lives. But the new Ford F-150 is failing owners when they need it most.
So we are stuck on the side of the road. Everything that you don't want to have happens when you're out on the highway. And you're probably wondering, why are you stuck, Jeff? Well, we don't actually know. We're driving down 70 miles an hour, and all of a sudden we got a message in the dash, engine shutting down, please pull over safely. And everything shut down, got pulled over nice and safe. It wants to start, but it's getting no fuel. So that's the problem. So anyway, long story short, I don't know what's going on. I'm thinking we've got a low fuel sensor or something like that. Fuel filters, they're not scheduled to be replaced, but it could be something as simple as that, but I wouldn't think it would shut it down. It would normally give you a little warning, say, hey, change your fuel filter. I don't know. But hood's up, I'm pulled over. And let me tell you the other nightmare we've been through. So I called the insurance company. I'm going to set this down. Called the insurance company and said, yeah, we can get a tow truck out there. So I got something solved for my truck, but they'll only tow it 20 miles. Well, I need to go 32 miles, so we got to pay extra for that. No big deal. We'll take care of that. But they have no way of towing the rig. Now, what's funny is I have insurance to tow my rig, but they have no method in doing so. So I called an RV dealer and asked them, did they have any transport companies? Sure enough, they had 3 or 4. I called them. They vary widely in their price. One guy couldn't get here for 2 hours. He was $250. The other guy is $320, but he could be here in 30 minutes, so he's on the way. So insurance said they'd cover that, so we'll see how much they're going to cover. But I've been here now 2.5 hours on the phone trying to figure out and coordinate. And that has been one hell of a day. So you've got to have a thick skin, guys, if you're going to be RVers. This kind of stuff happens from time to time, and there's nothing you can do about it. Computer shut down on this truck, so I can't fix that on the side of the road, sadly. There's a lot of things I can fix, but that's not one of them. So here we are, waiting for 2 tow trucks. Well, 1 tow truck and 1 dually truck with a 5th wheel hitch mounted in it. And we're going to have to obviously pull the truck forward and get it off of the rig so we can pull that away. So that's where we are. So we'll update you when one of the trucks gets here, and you can see that in process. It's always something in the RV life. Okay, we got the truck disconnected from the rig.
And good old Jake.
All good? Yes, sir. All right.
Say hi to people.
Hello.
There she is. Now,
Okay. Mojo's hooked up to a Ford truck. There she goes. And I gotta wait here because the first tow truck company canceled for no apparent reason, so I had to call the insurance company back so they could bring another tow truck company.
Let's go ahead and discuss the elephant in the room. It actually kind of does look like an elephant. All right, so the F-150 definitely gave me some trouble these past couple days. I'm gonna go ahead and save you guys the comments now. One's gonna be like, oh, it's a Ford, what you expect? And then the other one's gonna be like, oh, you should have got a Chevy. All right, now that we got that out the way, let's talk about it. This thing almost got me stranded on the way to Orlando, and then when I did finally make it back here to the shop, it left me stranded at the shop. The thing that almost got me stranded, the transmission, that thing got up to 256 freaking degrees trying to find a spot to pull over. Now, before we dog the 10R80, it's actually not the 10R80's fault. The issue lied with the transmission cooling system. On this truck, the transmission is actually cooled using the engine coolant, and that's where our issue lied. So the heat in the truck sometimes didn't work, so I thought we maybe had a clogged heater core, and the transmission cooler runs to that first, so I bypassed it. Ran it, didn't work. Shout out to Justin, though, for finding me and bringing me water to refill the coolant system. So after I learned that the heater core was not the issue, it had to be this little solenoid looking thing. So that guy right there, it has all the transmission lines and the heater core lines running to it. So it had to be the issue. Bypassing that is not as easy as just rerouting some lines, though. So to make that bypass happen, I actually had to cut up some of the lines, and now they did not have the correct union to connect these two hoses together. So inside of this is actually a 14mm half-inch socket. It's not stupid if it works. And up top here, there's a little T that's just going to nothing, so I had to put some vice grips on that. Again, not stupid if it works. Put some water back in the truck, drove it all the way to Orlando at like 205, going like 75 mile an hour. No issues, made it back, no issues. But when I got back, I had to turn the truck off for a second to put the lock on the trailer, and then it wouldn't start. So from what I've heard, there's a pretty common issue with the starter overheating, especially when towing. So I went to start it and the starter made like half a turn, and then it started to smell like when you use a drill too much and it starts to burn up. It smelled awful. So I had to wait here like 30 minutes for it to cool off, and then it started right up. But it did almost not start in traffic because it has the auto freaking start stop thing, and we almost got stranded at a traffic light. But yeah, I'm gonna put a new starter on there, find like a heat shield or something for it, and that should be an easy fix. But that's all the issues with the F-150.
With prices pushing past $60,000 to $80,000, buyers expect top-tier quality. Instead, they're left with instant regret. Look at what owners are saying after just a few weeks of driving.
Hello, my name is Doug Howe, and I own AutoQuick Transport. And on August 13th of 2018, I bought this Lariat F350 from East Tennessee Ford. And in December of 2018, I had trans issues with it. And again in July. And then in March, the motor went down. I got the truck back in May of 2020. Then a week later, the turbo went out on it. All the metal and shavings went right into the motor. So they have up at East Tennessee Dodge for 2 years, and on November the 2nd, my attorney, Toby Deaton Law Office, Jamestown, Tennessee, talked to their attorney, and she said that I abandoned the vehicle. I've been making my payments on the vehicle. They told me, Omar told me that they would help me with the payments when this first went down. They've ruined my credit. They've caused me disheartenedship. They've ruined my truck. And so I went and picked my truck up on November the 2nd from East Tennessee Ford. And this is what I got left with. They've took the power window motor out of the truck, took the switches out of the truck. They've left me with no motor. And I'm reaching out to this video to try to prevent anyone else from having this hardship like I have. I'm a self-employed person. I was born with cerebral palsy, but that never let me down. I always kept driving forward. But there's nothing I can say. I just hope that people see this video, that reach out to this video, that can see the hardship that caused me. Anyone that can help me with this or any kind of legal advice, you can reach out to my attorney at Toby Deaton at attorneydeaton.com for any information, anything that help us out with this. But it's kind of sad. Big company like this, doing this to a small business owner, it's just sad. I hope it doesn't happen to someone else, but it did happen to me. Have a great day.
If you own one of these trucks or have been thinking about buying one, I want to pause right here. Drop a comment right now. What has your experience been like with the new Ford lineup? Let me know down in the comments section.
My biggest regret? Buying a Ford F-150. If you are thinking about buying a Ford F-150, you need to listen to this. I have owned this F-150 for less than a year and a half. In fact, I've only owned it for 15 months. And in that time, I've had this truck in the shop for almost 3 weeks. I've had it in the shop for 3 times. Every time it rains, my truck leaks water inside in the cab. Check this out. Each time I take it to the dealership, they tell me it's fixed. But no, they can't fix it. So if you are thinking about getting an F-150, don't.
As if mechanical failures and transmission issues weren't enough, the post-purchase experience is making things 10 times worse. A massive wave of owners are reporting that Ford customer support is outright failing to respond to their complaints, even when sent in writing. If you're currently stuck dealing with a defect.
Okay, so I have a 2020 Ford Explorer, not even 100,000 miles on it. I have had so many issues with this truck. I can't even tell you like what I fixed because it just goes on and on. Lately, well, actually for the past like year, my check engine light comes on and it says the knock sensor fault. Okay, so I replaced the knock sensors 3 times in this truck and it's still coming up. Like my check engine light will come on sometimes, and then if I turn my car off, it will be off. Literally, it's to the point where my mechanic doesn't know what to do. I have started car shopping, but the interest rates and everything right now, everyone knows, is crazy. So, has anyone else had this issue with a 2020 Ford Explorer? Or is it just mine?
Defective truck or ignored customer support tickets. You don't have to just take the loss. Here are 4 steps you should take right now. 1. Document every single failure, keep every work order, dealer receipt, photo of dashboard warning lights, and timestamps of phone calls or written letters. 2. File an official government complaint. Don't just complain to the dealer. File a report with the NHTSA. Official complaints force automakers to issue recalls and address widespread issues faster. Dropping your hard-earned money on a brand new vehicle should give you reliability, not endless stress and unanswered emails. What do you think about how Ford is handling these issues? Is your truck running great, or are you having problems too? Comment your thoughts down below. I read and reply to as many as I can. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to help us hit 1K subscribers, and I'll catch you in the next video.